Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's The Con Guy.
Welcome to the Con Guy Show Home Edition, your home for news and insider opinions from the world of Comic-Con, fandom, and pop culture. This week, we feature the incredible panel, How to Have a Full-Time Creative Career on a Part-Time Schedule, which has been a feature at both WonderCon and San Diego Comic-Con for over 10 years. This is a panel where people talk about how to have that full-time career on a part-time schedule. It's people who have regular day jobs and then also do some amazing creative work on the side. Who have we got here? Let's start introducing ourselves. First of all, my name's Derek. I am a regular on the Con Guy Show and a contributor to theconguy.com. Luke, tell us about you.
Yes, I am Luke Cheeseman. I'm here with conguy.com. I'm one of the founders of the website, and we also do a podcast, which you're watching right now. And I'm also a screenwriter. So that is my part-time on a full-time schedule. I also do videography is my day job, my full-time type of thing that I do.
Okay, and Topher, can you introduce yourself?
My name's Topher Davila. I'm currently art director with a company my wife and I run called geekdomware.com, EAR.com. We also, she has a regular day job and she's got a lot of work that she does on the side when she gets home. I'm now currently full-time creative, but I was for a very long time doing that. That balance back and forth. I have in the past produced animation with the help of Renah and Sean here. I was able to do a live action pilot. I'm currently putting together a Kickstarter for some other stuff, but in general, I do product development now.
Cool. And Renah, can you tell us about yourself?
Yeah, hi everybody, Renah Wolzinger. I am a professional musician. I've had a record label, Renzone Music, since 1992, producing music in world music, children's music, all different fun stuff right now. Pandemic music seems to be the hot thing. So I just wrote a song, 6 Feet Away. Check it out on everywhere, TikTok and YouTube. I'm a videographer as well. That's growing part of our business for the last 10 years. My day job is I'm a manager in a software tech company. So, yeah.
So basically, you are a super genius who also does artsy things.
That sounds good.
Gene, tell us about you.
I'm the founder and station manager of Krypton Radio, the world's most popular geek and pop culture radio station. I am also, whoops, my key light's going away. I'm also the editor of the website. I've written about 1.3 million words myself on the website, which apparently has attracted some attention because now authors of science fiction and fantasy are coming to us asking that we publish their books. So we are starting our own publishing arm, just getting it rolling. It's going to be called Helium Beach. That's our new imprint. And I'm also an artist and animator, illustrator, singer and songwriter, computer programmer, game designer, and I dabble in industrial robotics, and I'm now learning 3D printing as an art form.
Oh, wow.
And learning to make stuff. So
That's
the
very
present
impressive.
for being on the panel. I'm in.
Can it do 3D lightsaber lights?
Huh?
Does it do 3D lightsaber light?
Right. Yeah, I can. But let's see. And the other thing I did was last year I produced and directed and was lead animator for my first animated web series, Mighty Aphrodite webseries.com. And so it's my first producer and directors and writers credit on IMDb.
Very cool. All right, one last person we have here, Sean. Introduce yourself.
So I'm Sean Glumace, and I am a letterer. So I've been lettering in the comic book industry for about almost going on 20 years now, working for most of the big boys as well as a lot of the small ones out there. But that's really not my day job. I work in education. I've been a teacher for the last 18 years, and really the last 5 years I've been working at really at the state level with our career technical education programs, and I'm an Adobe Education Leader. So I advocate for the Adobe Creative Cloud in education. There's about 250 of us worldwide. So I kind of get Southern California and most of the other parts of it as well. So that's what I do for my day job. But my part-time stuff is still in this industry. One of the things that we've been working on, especially during the pandemic, now that I've got all my students at home not doing much, is we have a series called Voices of Creativity. And so we're in our 4th season on that, and it's all student produced and student edited. And they get to go to conventions and they get to ask artists, why is creativity so important?
Very cool. Forgive me if I mentioned this, or if you said this already, but what age do you teach?
Actually, we teach adults, but I have a lot of high school students as well. So the Voices series is mostly high school, or you're just center. Both Renah have taught at the college level now for way too long, right, Renah?
Long time. Yeah, and my students are like married and have their own kids now. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
In fact, I just finished
And
teaching
Sean,
10 minutes ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Sean, if I'm not mistaken, you've done this panel at WonderCon and Comic-Con for a good while too. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, and Topher, correct me if I'm wrong, about 12 years now, I believe. And normally I give away an Adobe Creative Cloud. Oh, go ahead, Topher.
Yeah, I think we're at 12 years I think we've been lucky enough and blessed enough to do 12 years at Comic-Con and like 8 years at WonderCon. And then we brought Sean in on like 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. And he's been with us since. He came in very, very early, very early.
Yeah, I think you've been there since the beginning of me attending it, because I remember just wandering in there one day and I met Topher and saw the panel, but I think Sean's been there since it. And like he said, if you show up there in person, he usually hands out, well, not literally hands out, but gives the person with the best question or however they decide to distribute it, like a free year of Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yeah, I wish I could do it here, but kind of tough when we're recording it. So.
Yeah, that's too bad. We'll all be glad when this whole pandemic quarantine deal is done, I'm sure. Not only because we can go to conventions, but I mean, there are other reasons too, but I mean, that's the big one, obviously.
It's the most relevant one it's the most relevant one to right now in this discussion.
Yes, absolutely. So we, of course, have a lot of questions. I want to ask you guys several things we've been discussing, but since several of you have been doing this panel for a while, are there any questions you usually get asked that you would like to share before we get into all of that?
Renah, Sean, Gene, you guys are so much more knowledgeable than I am.
Well, the one I get asked a lot seems to be, how do I break in? How do I get the contacts I need to make my thing happen, whatever it is? And the secret, as far as I've been able to tell, and I'm not necessarily where I want to be either, but as far as I've been able to tell, it's don't go in with the idea that you're going to meet somebody who's going to set you on the path and give you the opportunity to do your thing, because that's not going to happen. You're going to do a lot better if you think of what it is you want to do, what it is you want to be. Let the creativity take you by the scruff of the neck and go do the thing. And go be with other people who are trying to do the thing, whatever that thing is. And the more of you collect in one place, the more likely you are to get the kind of help you need. And most of the help you need is going to come not from above, but from your peers.
Great advice. All right, anybody else? I know if you guys have been doing this panel, you probably get some questions a lot. Are there any beyond that one?
I think one that hits home for me is, about couples that come to me. I'm one of, right now, like the only female on the panel, maybe that's why. So, but come to me about, one of them wants to become an artist and the other one isn't sure if they want to support it. And so I talk about, I've been married 30 years and about how in the relationship to support the arts and to do things together. And even if the other person doesn't have to be an artist, but maybe they can schedule things, they can get a podcast going, you can attend things together. And so we always made it a team effort, and that's made it 30 years of a whole lot of fun. And so I've had a lot of talks. I usually stay after at least an hour after our panels talking about that very thing with couples.
Yes.
And I think a lot of times we get asked to, especially with people who have kids, is how do we balance our time with the kids? I've got 4, and Renah has 2, and I think a lot of the other people that are on the panel normally have a bunch of kids. So, what do you do? Especially now, it's even worse with the pandemic. I'm lucky, my kids are a little bit older, so I can shoo them off and go upstairs. But I have a lot of friends right now who have little kids, like 4, 5, 6-year-olds or even smaller. And it's become a real issue on how do you balance, the work time and your Zoom calls and everything else. It was bad before. And what we normally told everyone was you really need to sit down and schedule. And we'll get into some of the tech things on that end of the world on how to schedule your time and how to make it work. But it's really sitting down and deciding when do you have time. I know Renah is a morning person. I'm not. So my time's late in the evening, midnight. I'm sitting down editing while she's up at 4 or 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, getting her work done. And sometimes it's just an hour or 2, and sometimes even 30 minutes. Renah's sister is a professor over at Otis, and she's on the panel a lot. And she's got her kids, plus she's a full-time professor and everything else. And I know she always says, just grabbing that 20, 30 minutes somewhere, as long as you do it every day, or at least make it a habit. That's going to kind of come through with all of us here is I was just doing some panels at the last show. Really, I think it was the last comic book show, really anywhere. That was San Diego Comic Fest about 6 weeks ago. And everyone kept coming up with, I have an idea and I have an idea. But the people who actually get things done, that's really what it comes down to. We have another panelist, Chris Dickens, who's on a lot, and he always tells everyone, he goes, hey, bottom line is this, you got it done. We have people come and go, look at my book, and we pat them on the back and say, hey, you did more than 99% of the other people in this room, which is you took your idea, yes, it may not be perfect, it may not be the greatest, but you got it done, and you're 1,000 light years ahead of everyone else on that.
Nice. Yeah.
We get a lot of questions about how you actually kind of, once you want to do it and once you try to schedule it, how exactly do you end up making it happen? And they have a lot of very specific questions, but it's pretty much a lot of where you group them together. And my answer to that is always just have some place to work other than where you live, because it's actually not just a pattern or whatever. It's like the physiological way the brain works. There's, the brain wipes, when you go to a new place, the brain wipes the RAM in order to deal with the new place. So if you go somewhere else, you've got a clearer head to begin working, even if it's another room in your home. It doesn't have to be another studio necessarily or another location. That's there's a reason that when you look at modalities in humanity, there's a reason study in library has been part of home building for the people, the affluent, for the last 350 years. You had a place to go, even if it was in the same place that you live. And not everyone can get their own studio space, which so I've heard stories of people like, they use their patio. When they're on the patio, don't bother daddy. I had one guy that used the walk-in closet in the bedroom. It's just large enough to put in a small table, a light, a laptop, and a table. and then you shut the door, the sliding door, and that's where you would work. But having a dedicated place to work where you can, as much as possible, leave it there and come back the way you left it isn't just, oh, that's a modality thing. It really, your brain is really wired to that. So if you make that any cutout place, you're going to be the most effective from the start. That's going to be the biggest way to help make things work when you actually get time to do it.
I love that. I love that the example you give is a guy using just what space is available in the same way that we all just kind of have to use what time is available. It's always about time and space, not just for Doctor Who fans. Luke, I know you're a little newer to the panel, but did you have anything like that you want to share off the bat?
I mean, I liked what you said about, changing up, because I mean, like right now I'm like downstairs in my apartment. I use my upstairs. I have a stand-up desk, just little variety of things. I have a patio. I totally agree with kind of like switching it up, especially because I work most of the time from home. So like I always got to like switch it up, or I even like sometimes I'll have a TV on the background. Sometimes I won't, like just different ways to kind of keep it going, and knowing when to take just little breaks too, kind of to space it out, or go for a run, go for a walk, do something to kind of break up the time that you're working. Because, it's a lot to like stay focused. And a lot of people now are having to do that with this stuff going on, like having to work from home and having that focus. But I've been doing it now for a long time, probably like 8 to 10 years, like doing a lot of like working from home. But you just got to kind of switch things up and figure out what your routines are, when you're most productive. Sean said he's most productive at night. I'm the same way. So, like just knowing the routines that'll help you be most productive.
I think a big part of it is just the mental discipline. If you're going to be, the title of the panel is sort of a misnomer. You can't actually do full-time creativity on a part-time schedule, but you can set yourself a sort of mental framework that runs all the time, into which your creativity can be slotted in the time that you do have available. The difference between the people who make it work and the ones who don't is mental discipline. And if you are able to line all this stuff up and see the structure, not only of your own work, but of your life and how your work fits into the time that you have, then you can get things done. And it's, so you're somebody who gets to do this as a day job, they just think about their work and how they're going to plan their day. But for most people, for people like us who are trying to get whatever side jam they have going and make that into their day job, they don't have that luxury. They have to take everything that they would normally think about as their creative day job and then overlay this whole separate structure on top of it. It's twice as much work, really, but it's the only way forward. It's the only way you have of ever making that happen. And you have to have the dedication and the clarity to actually implement that. It's not something you can approach casually. If you want to take your dream and turn it into a full-time job reality, you have to have that kind of focus and dedication, or you won't get there.
That is awesome advice. You've clearly done this before and clearly have like given these things a lot of thoughts, because you say things so poetically when you're given this advice. It's great. Well, I've got a question here that's probably a freebie for Sean with the stuff he's already been talking about. But I want to ask, what kind of software and also hardware, some of that's been mentioned, can you guys recommend that would help someone organize their life?
So I think from the software side, one of the things that I push hard is really the organizational software. And luckily we have it all. It's free. Start with Google, use your calendar, use your Gmail, buy your own URL, get that done and out of the way. If you just have a Gmail address, make it professional as well. And that is one big thing. And I think Gene kind of touched on it, is I think a lot of people want to make this their career, and those are the questions we get, like, when did you quit and become, really the full-time, part-time? If you're not really putting the time in and organizing yourself, it's a hobby, and there's nothing wrong with that. We all need hobbies. But if you're really going to make this a career, you really got to sit down and decide, okay, how am I going to get organized? And jumping back to the tech, like I said, all the Google stuff is there. It's great. You got to have a portfolio, and where I'm going to push everyone to. Even if you're not using LinkedIn for your professional side, this might be the time to actually put it together, because it has portfolios now. If you're doing writing, you can do all your writing there. If you're doing visual work, art, video, even audio, you can upload it easily and quickly. And I get most of my work from LinkedIn. So even my professional side of the world, people find me on LinkedIn. They send me a note. I find people on there as well. And so it's usually the first thing I do is look everyone up. Fun.
Yeah.
The other big ones, just some real quick ones on your phone. Evernote. Sorry, go ahead. Oh. But Evernote is the big one.
Got me started on all that stuff, Sean.
Yeah, you got to do it. So I yell at my students about this all the time, and we actually make it part of all our classes. You got to create a LinkedIn account. You got to have a good headshot. You got to have a bio, a short, a medium, and a long biography, and stick with it. If you do a Google search for me out there, I'm the only person with my name. It's the same Comic-Con picture. I think you took it, Luke, the photo that I used.
Yeah.
It's from Comic-Con. It's
Awesome.
my official photo. Like, if I was on Zoom right now on my big computer, that's the photo everyone sees. You go on Facebook, you go on Twitter. I just keep using the same thing over and over. So I'm very consistent with that. Same thing with my bio. But Evernote's real important. And without going way off track here, one thing that we normally do at our panel is the meet and greet. And so I ask everyone, usually after we do all our intros, I'm the last one. And I say, okay, how many of you have a business card? And sadly, we'll have a room of 400 people, and only 50 of them raise their hand. And so we tell them, look, you need to take a piece of paper and put your email and your name on it, your phone number. And we ask everyone in the room, how many of you want to be are an artist? I shouldn't say want to be. How many of you are an artist? How many of you are a writer? How many of you are all the things in this industry? And then we spend 10 or 15 minutes during the panel doing networking. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people, but we get asked all the time, how do I break in this industry? It goes back to what Gene said earlier. You got to meet people. And so just having that, and that gets back to the tech here with Evernote. Evernote's what I use. If you hand me your business card, and I do it during literally during on stage, I will, after we do that, I'll get their cards. I will use Evernote with my phone. It will scan it all, OCR it. It'll put them in my contacts, and it will send them all my LinkedIn information. And so I connect with them almost instantly. If not, I'm doing it at home. I'll go through the stack. And this is for any convention or anything I ever do. So having those business cards, having Evernote to do the follow-up, and just using the tech to network. And that goes with the LinkedIn side as well. One other thing I will throw out here is Behance. It's from, so it's Behance. Do a Google search for it. It's from Adobe. So I'm gonna do my corporate shill right now and pitch. But it is free, and it is an online portfolio builder. And it's not just for visual creatives. A lot of writers and everyone else put their work in there. And it ties in with LinkedIn. So you could take what you've posted there, and it'll populate your portfolio. So those are kind of my surface ones in terms of just tools. But even those alone will get you started.
One of the things I do is I have my business cards, the cards I hand out. This is Krypton Radio, and here's why you should listen to it. And then I have another personal business card just for me. And on the back of mine, I have a little form that you can fill out with a ballpoint pen saying where you met me and what we talked about, so that you have some idea of what it was. Because one of the things that really bugs me about collecting all of these business cards is I get home and I don't remember what we talked about. I've got to stand there and write on the back of each card as I go, or I won't remember, because I've got a mind like a steel sieve.
Yeah, like evening for Comic-Con for me every night is I take the business card, and I'll spend, even if it's just 5 minutes, and I'll just write just a sentence or two, like met at this, tall guy, tall guy, short guy, met at this panel, talked about, because if that's going to happen 2 days later, I won't even remember the context of the card. So I write it on the card. Then what I do for the larger filing to go on top of Gene's stuff is I file all my business cards in the badge from that convention, because so many times I won't remember the guy's name. I'll remember the conversation we had at Comic-Con about 4 years ago, 3 years ago. So I can go to that badge and pull it out. I don't know if that works for anyone else. For me, but like, I won't remember the guy's name and I won't remember this, but I'll know the year generally in the convention. So I file those in the badge to make it easy to get to someone if I need to find them, because having them on the phone for me won't do as easy, because that requires a name and I have no memory when it comes to names. So that's a very good idea, Gene. And I just go with Gene. You write down every night at Comic-Con. That's what I do. Sit down and write on the back of the card some information that will help you remember later who this person was, why you talked with them, any of that.
I just want to like emphasize how good like Google is for collaboration. Like one of my main clients, like we use a lot of like Google stuff to work together, because you can like get so many people inside like a Word document or sharing files and all that kind of a thing. So it's been a very useful resource for especially one of my like video clients that I work with, and being able to like, you know, create just different ways of organizing things, and it being there in the cloud, having a place you can go to, and you get like, I think it's up to 16 gigabytes for free on the free membership. And you can also do levels of upgrading and other stuff if you need more space. But I've really used that a lot. And then for like people that don't have the Gmail, like sites like WeTransfer, like you get up to 2 gigabytes and you can like share like just easy, you just put that in there. They become a little more secure with it. They give you they email you a little code that you put in, so other people aren't just sending stuff from your email. And I don't know if there's been problems with that, but there's a lot of good stuff online and cloud source stuff that is good for collaboration.
A couple of questions, but first, Gene, are you and I using the same glass right now?
Oh my God, I think we are.
Yeah, butterbeer.
Butterbeer.
Hogwarts, butterbeer.
Yes. Excellent. Oh, I knew I liked you.
And one quick thing for our viewers, since we're not at the panel, and you know, usually there's a group of people in there. For you guys that have done it for a while, can you tell us like the type of people that tend to come to the panel and want advice, like what kind of creators and what kind of careers and type of things that the people that come to your panel typically are looking to do?
Well, the pitch of the panel that I have is the elevator pitch is for any group with a goal. And so we don't have a consistent kind of media or people that come in. The idea is to take a lot of very important elements of communication, time management, and resource management, drill them down to the sort of base sort of concepts as far as what is really useful to you for you to apply to yourself, whatever you're doing. But since they're base concepts and they're not project or media specific, it's for any group with a goal. Is as I said, the pitch is the elevator pitch. So because of that, there's not really a consistent media or group or goals or projects that come through. There's just, you know, because everyone that comes in for everything you could possibly think of. Typically, what we have people all the way up from beginners, all the way from people that are on network shows that have come in. Typically, though, the people that fill up most of the seats are beginner to intermediate that are looking to learn about things other than what they're already good at. I'm good at this, but I need more to be able to accomplish the goals, to whatever goal I want to have, which could be a project, could be a book, whatever.
I find that most of the people that come talk to me at the panels are involved in some kind of storytelling, whether it's visual or audio, or they're writers, or they are filmmakers or something like that. But it always comes down to storytelling. And invariably, the big problem that each individual seems to have is that they are off working in a little bubble by themselves, and they don't know how to reach other people who are doing the same kinds of things. And in order to, and I apologize for the airplane if you can hear it, we're right in the glide path. The biggest problem that they come to the panel with is, I have no idea where to take what I do and put it in the proper place so that it will be seen or understood or appreciated. And they're all there seeking that information. That's one of the unifying things that I've noticed.
You've all touched on collaboration and networking a bit. Is there any special way that people could be approaching that right now when we're all shut down and can't go out anywhere? Are there good ways to do that kind of thing online?
I'll start with that one because I'm doing it now with the video and audio projects I'm doing. And I saw some really good examples of it this week on television with American Idol was last night, where they're collaborating between a band that has many members and using iPhones for three camera angles and very basic technology to collaborate with a whole bunch of people to broadcast stuff. So it's getting a lot easier. So you can do video, audio, comic books, everything. It's all about kind of making a plan. So what is this plan going to be? How do you need to adjust it for the circumstance? You can send files really easily. You can talk online about your collaboration. You can do things at the same time as well. So I think it's just about planning how you want to do it. I just shot a video a couple of weeks ago and we had a pre-production meeting. We had all the props, we had locations. We had people come in that we needed to social distance from on that video, but we had a plan and we executed that. So, yeah.
I was just in a music video for the Society for Creative Anachronism, and somebody had this idea that the local region club of it, they call it a barony, was going to put this thing together, and somebody had the idea, picked out the song, and handed out the video assignments. And we all shot like 30 seconds or 40 seconds worth of footage to the music in our backyards, in our houses, and whatever, and just sent it all in. And within, I think, 2 weeks, we had a finished music video that I wish I could show it to you here. I can't, but it's just look up SCA music video on YouTube, and you'll find the stuff. And it's just amazing that something like this can be assembled that quickly, and you can actually produce some pretty quality entertainment. But you have to start with, and it comes back to that, how do I find other people who do what I do? Question. You have to start with that. And in this case, we were already a member of this large group. And the question, I think, as I remember it, the question was, well, how do I get together with other people so that I can do this? Well, there's the technology, yes, but you have to know who to use it on.
So one of the areas that, I love networking. I love working a show. I do a lot of conventions a year, so this really sucks for me. We miss out on NAB. We miss out outside these creative fields too. We do a lot of conventions, and that's where I drum up my business. It's the handshaking and the cards and going to the parties and working the floors, as I call it. And that's become impossible at this point. So it's hurting a lot of people out there that do this for a living in every industry. And with the Voices of Creativity stuff, we have a product that we just did 18 episodes over the last 2 weeks. We have students editing them and pushing them out. I'm not a social media expert at all, but one of the things I did was I was already a member of a number of comic book groups on Facebook. A lot of them were closed. There's a couple that are really closed that I'm involved with. And so I started doing the searches and looking for, independent comics, your comic groups. And what I'm finding right now too is everyone is looking for work. So this might be your best chance to find people to work on your book, on your creative projects, because it is just, joined this one group with about 8,000 people, and I had to finally turn it off. I was just getting way too many, pings from that group on my feed and everything else. But it's sifting through that now because everyone else is figuring it out, and it's much easier than, as I say, working the floor. That takes a different type of personality than just posting something online saying, hey, look at my stuff. But the technology's there, the groups are there, and we're in a weird position where everything's growing very quickly, and there's a lot of talent out there. And it kind of goes back to the other question, but I'm a writer or I'm an artist. How do I connect with someone else to complete my book or complete what I'm working on? Or how I'm a videographer and I need a good audio person. And it's going to have to be done digitally at this point, at least for the near future. And sadly, I don't see conventions coming back till January of next year for any conventions, not just the comic book world side. And so we're all trying to figure this out. Goes back to LinkedIn. As much as I keep swinging back to that, but that is your online professional persona when it comes down to it. It's what you use as your business card online. You can use other things as well, but it's still kind of the center of our universe here. And there are other ones out there. I mean, there are other groups and things like that. So I always tell someone, if that doesn't work for you, you got Google, look it up, find your niche, find your industry. There's probably something out there, it's a Reddit, thread. It may be where you find somebody. So it's doing the homework. And I think that's a tough thing. It goes back to what I said earlier, just talk about like, where do I go? Sometimes you just got to sit down, get in Google and just start searching, because you'll never know what you're going to find. It's a big world out there.
That's true.
Just with that. Oh,
go
sorry.
ahead, Luke.
Just real quick, just with that too, and something Kevin Undergaro, who helped start, or one of the founders of AfterBuzz, has talked about, is like seizing opportunities. Like, we're in this like weird time, and this whole pandemic and staying at home and all this stuff is a weird thing. It's easy to kind of get defeated or get down of like, what do I do? This is kind of shaken up, but like, how do you seize on opportunities or take advantage of like, hey, maybe there's more creative people available because they're sitting at home, or able to contact people. Like, for instance, the show we do, here, the Con Guy Show or the Scare Guy Show, we've been able to kind of contact or interview possibly people we haven't been able to before, because people haven't been out on film shoots, so they've been kind of at home or had a little more available time. So taking times like these and being like, hey, what's an opportunity I normally wouldn't have that I can maybe go after, or be a little more just taking, hard times and these things, and not see it as like, oh, it's a defeat thing, but how can I take a different angle to kind of take advantage of these situations, even though it's kind of a hardship for the most part.
Just a quick observation as far as getting exposure and all that. 2020 is canceled effectively as far as planned events.
Yeah, that's true.
We've passed on some sports stuff. Conventions are not going to happen. A lot of TV shows only have a certain amount of episodes before they're going to run out. I know the Goldbergs, for example, stopped production, like they had their finale, and that's all they need to be. So we're not even going to get, so 2020 is canceled, and everyone is going to be able to go out and enjoy parks and non-scheduled things like national parks and Disneyland and theme parks and all of that is going to open up and be fine. But anything canceled, anything planned or organized or event-based, it's not happening. So I think the internet is going to be one of the biggest exposures and sought after places to go, where you're going to be able to really shine over the next year, because you can only watch so many hours of Netflix before you want to do something else. So I think over the next year, the internet, it's always been your best friend. It's always been your best friend. It's always been your best friend, but right now it's going to be your absolute best friend on getting messages and marketing out to people, because it's all people are going to have outside of stuff, coffee shops and all that. There's going to be a lot more time with people looking at their screens over the course of the year, even after we open up. Let's say magically everything happens and the coronavirus disappears tomorrow and we're still canceled for 2020. They're going to be needing to fill time in 2020 like they haven't ever done since the internet was invented. So that's going to be a friend to anyone that can put content out.
With that, Topher, one question I was going to ask is, do you have some advice on how people can be using social media with self-marketing right now?
That's going to be Sean or Renah or Gene. Those people can write PhDs on it.
Well, I'm going to default to Gene on that one. I am not a genius when it comes to that stuff. I know how to do it, but
I really got to know TikTok during this. So I'm quarantining with 6 people, 4 of which are in their 20s, and they're TikTok experts. So I learned all kinds of new things about drop shipping, marketing, Facebook ads, and TikTok that I never knew about before. And TikTok's interesting because it's got the opposite view of YouTube, where you do use other people's music in order to make something under a minute. So I am taking all my creative projects I'm doing and making a version of it that's under a minute and putting it on TikTok as well. So it's a whole new thing. And it proliferates faster than YouTube as far as users usually. So it's a whole, it's a whole new world for me. Facebook ads. So I didn't like ads, but I figured out a way to like them. So if I happen to like Batman, so I just shop for Batman stuff for a minute a day. So all my ads on my Facebook and everything else for the rest of the day are all about Batman. So that's my solution to that.
That's a brilliant idea.
My approach to it is kind of different because instead of trying to figure out how to use media to get my message across, I am the media. Krypton Radio reaches between 65 and 95,000 listeners a month, depending on the month and, depending on the season. And, that thing about how you have trouble finding ways to get that message across. Well, you can sort of take things and move into them, just slide into them sideways. I started with a radio station and took a short segue into animation, with the Mighty Aphrodite web series. And now I'm going to be a publisher, and apparently a book publisher, because the authors are coming to me with their entire catalogs. And I wouldn't have that if it wasn't for the fact that I had the radio station to start with. It's possible to build up in one area and then just sort of lean over slightly out of your expertise and start taking steps into other areas. Like, for example, if you're working on a comic book and you're trying and you've been watching this whole DC Comics and Diamond distributing, taking a powder because of the coronavirus, and then all of a sudden, Diamond says, "Oh, well, we're going to start distributing books again." Well, I figured out why. It's because there's a new distributor and publisher out there called Virus, and it's by the same people who did Heavy Metal. I think Heavy Metal Incorporated or whatever it is, and it's essentially publish on demand comic books with a big name backing it up. Heavy Metal. Everybody knows Heavy Metal. And they're using their reputation and their longevity in the business to sort of push into this new area. So if you have a comic book or you're a writer or you have a little team, you can get your book into real paper. And if you sell one copy, you sell one copy. There's no big upfront contract. The barrier to entry is a lot lower. go to heavymetal.com and look it up. Conversely, if you're interested in getting your first story published, write to me, Krypton Radio at kryptonradio.com, and we're publishing short fiction at first. We're already doing that on the Krypton Radio website, and we'll see where things go, because we're going to be doing books too. I can't remember what I was talking about. I lost my thread. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was just caught up in everything you were saying. I was really into it. We are unfortunately getting down to the wire with time here, but I do want to go to each of you and see if you've got like one last piece of advice, just one change that most people could make in their lives right now that would help them move forward with their creative careers.
I'll start with just something that I had time to do during this period is money flow. So I organized all of my copyrights, my distribution, my publishing, songwriter, all of that, so that all of the things I'm putting out are immediately, I can create income from those as long as they're consumers. So I spent time kind of straightening all that out and making sure that all my rights were assigned to me, my copyrights, all of that. So that'd be my advice.
I would say that
on what Renah's saying is it's probably. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say that if you can make one change, believe in what you're doing, because if you don't, no one else will. Take the time to organize your work, because it's not just about the work, it's about figuring out where in your life structure that work is going to go and planning that too, or you're never going to make it. But this is what it takes. And if you believe that you can do it and you know that your stuff is good, it will happen. Go ahead, Sean.
Well, it kind of piggybacks on what you just said too. Spend 30 minutes a day just cleaning up your portfolio. And that can be in a lot of different ways. But like in my case, I've gone through and just cleaned up all of my websites. It's kind of what Renah said on the business side. I did it on the creative side. I went through, got rid of all my URLs I don't use, all my emails I don't use, try to become as consistent as I can with my message on the internet. And as Topher said earlier, that is going to be the most powerful weapon we have as a creative to promote yourself. So just a little bit every day, if it's just one thing a day, you clean up, or you go back and find old work, like say you worked on a book 5 years ago, but you never posted it on your LinkedIn or your Behance or your website. Time to do the screenshots, get it up, write something up about it, and then push it out through your social media and say, hey, look, I'm here. Because if no one ever sees you waving and never hears you, you can be the greatest artist in the world, but you're just drawn for yourself, which isn't a bad thing, But if you want to get work, you got to get it out there.
Topher?
This is one I say a lot, and I've said it for years. It's for more of a niche, but a large niche. Here we go. If you're in college, be doing your project, comic, video, be doing that in college. No matter how much time you think you don't have, be doing that in college, because 100% of every early success story I've ever read about in any magazine, from Variety down to blog posts down to meeting people, every early success story seems to start with, so I was doing my X in college. I don't know what is the magic about getting discovered in college or finding out or whatever, but every early success story starts with, I was doing this in college. So if you're in college, make time to do your personal creative output project outside of your curriculum. Outside of your curriculum, it is going to help you more than you could possibly imagine. Just, I know there's not a lot of time, but make time, find time, do it, and do your own thing, not your school project. Just do your own thing and get it out there in college. Find the time. It will be the best time. I don't know what has to do with how the universe works, but it is the best time to get discovered in your life.
Yeah. Just with that, like internships are so, like if you're younger and you're able to do like internships and stuff, it's very important. Like I wish I did more when I was in college. I did an internship later in life with a production company called Lem Pictures. And they were doing the Lego movie and all that, but you learn so much by doing that. So like if you are able to like, not have to work or kind of do part-time stuff like while you're young, or internships are great. Like definitely be doing that. Also be like easy to work with and like deliver things on time and be somebody that people want to keep working with, have a good attitude and everything is what I've discovered with freelance, and people just want to keep working with you. And another thing, it's like bring people around you who want to encourage and support and be part of what you're doing. Derek here, who's moderating, like we're in a writers group together for our screenwriting, encouraging and strengthening ourselves in writing. We do this podcast together and we do like con guy events and coverage and all that. So we're supporting each other's interest in these fandoms and different pursuits. So find people with similar interests, and then you just strengthen each other by just kind of being around each other and doing these things. So find a community to kind of help and support you. And then lastly, like with kind of going through this craziness with the coronavirus and the pandemic, you really kind of realize like what's important in life. And, you just see how short life can be, like time management, like if you've been wanting to go after something for so long, I mean, make time to do it. Learn to say no to even good things in life that are being a distraction from what you're really wanting to do. Make that time, like find the time that you're, like Sean was saying, to just like put into what you're trying to develop and strengthening that portfolio. Make time for it.
Yeah, true. And Luke, I got to tell you, being in the writers group with you and Jim does always help me a lot. Just being around other creative types, and all of you have been inspiring me. But Renah, have we gotten your advice yet?
We did.
Okay, I was afraid I'd skipped you. Let's go around just one more time at the end here. Let's find out from each of you, like if you want to plug any one thing before we go, and at least tell us where we can find you. Luke, let's start with you.
Sure. So you can find me like with theconguy.com. We're doing like this con coverage. We're doing this podcast. So look for like on iTunes, Spotify, all these different sites. Look up for the Con Guy Comic-Con show, and also look for the Scare Guy, which is basically the Con Guy, but the scareguy.com, which is our website. And then our show's the Scare Guy show, where we talk about more of the horror side and more of that fun kind of horror thing. Like Derek's also a part of that as well. And yeah, and also like before we're done too, like just there's been a lot of success stories through your panel and stuff. After we're kind of like done talking about this, I'd love to hear some of the success stories of people that have gone to your panel and now are doing it because of the advice that you guys gave them.
Yeah, and Topher, can you tell us where we can find you? Anything you want to plug?
Basically geekdomware.com. We're redoing our entire website. We're redoing everything this year. Basically check back at the end of the year. We got a lot of stuff that we're not doing yet, but we will be doing through that. Nothing I can say right now. But that's basically it for where to find me.
Awesome.
Oh, and if you want to find me personally, I'm pretty much Davila Draws anywhere on the internet. Whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Davila Draws.
Awesome. Renah, I don't know what would have been worse with that previous question, whether I had, if it would have been worse to actually have skipped you or to think that I have skipped you, as if all your great answers didn't matter. But where can we find you?
So I have the best website name ever, Renah.com. And
how did you get that?
That's impressive.
Yeah, let's get that early.
I got the internet like 5 minutes before the rest of the world, so that's how I got it.
There you go.
I also was one of the first digital distributors on Amazon and eBay, so I sold thousands and thousands of children's novels doing that digitally.
She does work in software development.
That's how I started. So my label is Renzone Music. I'm on YouTube, Renah Wolzinger, and also LinkedIn is Renah Wolzinger, but Renah.com is my website. Everything's there. And yeah, go listen.
Great. Sean, what about you?
I'm pretty easy to find. Just my last name, Glumace.com, Glumace.com. It'll take you to my Behance stuff, or you can just do a Google search. You'll find me. it's nice being the only person in the world with my name. So, and also on YouTube, I've got hundreds of videos up there on the Adobe side. So if you want to learn how to do Photoshop or Dreamweaver or any of those other wonderful programs, I've got all of my classes open to the public that I've taught over all the years. And I brought it up a little earlier, but Voices of Creativity, all you got to do is do a Google search for it. You'll find we're in season 4 right now. And we're actually, our last 2 episodes of this season are going up this week. So our last one's me, John Semper from the Spider-Man show and everything. So follow us on there, subscribe, because we have a lot more content coming. And if anyone out there wants to be interviewed, we are going to an online format for the interviews as well. It's really an education side of the world. So if any creatives want to be interviewed, hit me up, find me, I'm easy. So, and if anyone's got questions on the Adobe side, give me a yell. I'll try to answer them, or I'll pass them on to someone who probably can.
All right, and Gene?
KryptonRadio.com. It's sci-fi for your Wi-Fi. Also,
Nice.
I have a personal website at GeneTurnbow.com. If you are a creator of any kind and you want to get your work promoted, if you have a Kickstarter that's going and it's like a comic book, or you have a genre album, that you're doing, you're a musician, or you have a book, write me at KryptonRadio at KryptonRadio.com, and we'll help you out. If you want to write for those, if you want to write for the website, we actually pay our writers, unlike major publications like the Huffington Post. We actually pay our writers. We have a Patreon campaign, patreon.com/KryptonRadio, that helps pay for that. And once again, we are starting our publishing arm which is Helium Press. And once we get the website up, you'll find that at Helium Beach.com.
Helium Beach, awesome.
Yeah, and to reach me again, that's KryptonRadio at KryptonRadio.com for any kind of inquiry. I want to help you get your stuff out, and I have the distribution channels to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Finally, my name is Derek Sands. I'm a regular on The Con Guy. You can find me on theconguy.com and on Twitter at ConGuyDerek. I just want to say to every single one of you, thank you so much. I wish that I could take each of you out to lunch or something and just sit and pick your brain and get all this wisdom. And instead of doing this, late at night during quarantine, but we're going to have to wait until things open up for all that. But thank you to all of you. Thank you to all of our listeners and viewers. Be sure to check these things out. We're going to have links in the show notes and on theconguy.com where you can check out all of these projects. And yeah, keep that creative work going, because you definitely can do it. But thank you. Good night.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.